Greetings, Eric Bakker, the Naturopath from New Zealand. Thanks for coming back and checking out, well, maybe, hopefully, my ericbakker.com website. But today we're going to talk about food combining, all right? Another one of these crazy topics, food combining. So last week we spoke about the food police. Now we're going to talk about food combining. So now we got more laws, more rules around eating, more mandates, more mask wearing, more all this kind of stuff, you know? People telling you what to eat, people telling you what kind of foods you can combine, because there's good combinations and there's the bad combinations, the villains, the things you should never eat together. Well, the funny thing with food combining is when I was a naturopath, many years, particularly the first formative years, I started to see patients. I actually took this stuff a little bit seriously myself. I got sucked into this kind of spiel, right? Don't eat carbohydrates and proteins together. Try and separate them a bit. Eat fruit only on an empty stomach. Only eat dried fruits with raw vegetables. Rules, rules, rules. There's so many rules when you think about it. But if you think about it, rules in food have been around a long time. Kosher foods, for example, I don't think you can eat meat and dairy together, like they got to be separate. But in the 1920s, there was a guy called William Hay, 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 and he worked out, he was quite a sick sort of, overweight fat guy. So he lost quite a bit of weight. Well, after all, he did stop smoking and eating crap and things like that. And he went, I think, from about, 230 pound down to about 160, 170 pound. I got Hay's book, I think, in my cabinet behind me. And so he was quite sick and he got better. So he started to study diet and nutrition. And he worked out that there were protein foods, which were like acidic. There were carbohydrate foods, which were more alkaline. And then there were the neutral foods. So he thought you shouldn't really eat meat with starchy carbs, because when you eat them together, your stomach's got to produce hydrochloric acid, which it doesn't really need for the carbohydrate digestion, which needs more an alkaline, enzyme, which is produced further down the chain. So he thought, why don't we separate these foods? Eat meat by itself, eat eggs by itself. Have fruit, separate, like first thing in the morning. The Fit for Life diet, the Beverly Hills diet, these diets are all the same. They're all just shoot-offs from the Hay diet. So, but Hay, think about it. It doesn't make sense. If we look at a piece of broccoli, say 3 ounces, say 75, 80 gram piece of broccoli, we've got probably 2.5 to 3 grams of protein in that broccoli. Now guess what? We've also got about 3 or 4 grams of carbohydrate in that broccoli. So how the hell are we going to separate the protein from the carbs in that hunk of stuff that no one likes to eat or smell when it's cooking? Think about it. You can't do that. You can't really separate carbohydrates and proteins from nearly all foods. So that sort of throws that theory down the lavatory, doesn't it? It doesn't really fit with me. So when you think about it logically, it doesn't work. But when your gut is dysfunctional, the key thing is to work out what your combination of food is, okay? Your food combining. So you'll quickly work out what you can and can't put together with a meal. I always have said the same message to patients with gut dysfunction. Start with small portions. If a food upsets you, pull back on that food. Watch out, particularly for foods that you love to eat or got a strong desire for, because those are the ones you're probably going to eat too much of, that are going to create the bubbly gut, the farting, the bloating, the diarrhea or constipation. So be aware of that, all right? It's like hanging around with the wrong friend can push your buttons emotionally, and the food is the same thing. So just be very careful of that. But food combining, I can't buy it. I think it's just a pile of nonsense, just some other rules and regulations devised by other people. In fact, when I looked at the literature online, I couldn't really see anything scientifically to prove that food combining is a real and valid fact. It just doesn't really exist. It's just probably a bit like horoscopes, it's a bit of something to pass the day, all right? So if you've got a healthy tummy, like I have, I wouldn't really worry too much about what foods you combine. Well, you're not going to combine beer and ice cream and salads and things like that. I mean, it's common sense. We're talking healthy food here. But I think if you're watching this video and you've got a dysfunctional gut, irritable bowel syndrome or something like that, you need to be more careful with your gut, and particularly the foods you eat, the combinations of foods you eat. You need to be more careful. And this is why people with functional gut complaints, first thing they do, as I always mentioned in a previous video, is cut the crap from the diet first. Before you even think about any kind of combinations of food, is just think about the concoctions of crap. That's what you first think about. Cut those out. Just get that out of your life. Then you can start looking at combinations of healthy foods to put together. I see nothing wrong with the meal I had last night, which was brown rice and wild rice and quinoa combined. That was steamed with some herbs and spices. We had some fresh fillets of fish we had that cooked in olive oil, and then we had a really nice green salad. Now, according to Hay, that's taboo, like that's bad, not good. I can't buy it. Anyway, we'll catch up with you guys next week, and we're going to talk about another quite interesting topic. Okay, thanks for tuning in.